Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of September 25th through October 1st, 2023. Alright, so this week we have a full moon which will be concentrated around the late Thursday, early Friday time period. So we are coming up to the heightened energy of the lunar month, getting to that shift and changes that we often make during the full moon. So it's good to allow for that, and around the Thursday and Friday time period, do a bit of a status check, see how things have been going these past couple weeks in this lunar month, and what are some shifts and changes perhaps that we can make to further the energy forward. Now this week we have some aspects with Mercury. So on Monday, Mercury will be trining up to expansive Jupiter. So Monday could be a good day to let the mind wander a little bit into philosophies, theories, opportunities, and maybe ground some of those perspectives. And then on Saturday, Mercury will be trining Uranus, so there is a bit of a innovative mind and good to challenge the status quo with the things we're thinking about, and maybe just getting outside of the norm of things is always good with that. Now, speaking of mixing things up there with Uranus, Venus will be squaring Uranus leading up to that on Friday around the full moon. And so it is a good time to challenge ourselves to see the value of trying different things, getting outside of our comfort zone, and enjoying things in a different way than we normally do. And even in those relationships as well, as Venus can often symbolize that. All right, and then the last important event this week is that at the very end of the week on Sunday, Mercury will go into more pragmatic Virgo. And so it's going to be adding to a lot more of that improvement orientation that we've already got going on. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, September 25th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You won't see mainstream using the visible sky like this because they use an adjusted system, a simplified system, which uses an even 30 degrees for all the signs. But as you can see here, the signs are different sizes in the sky. So this does change the placements. If you are new to this channel, definitely check out that link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. Okay, so this week, full moon approaching the late Thursday, early Friday time period. Again, heightened energy as we do approach that, and building some momentum now coming into the week since we're coming off of that first quarter square. So late last week, it was good to really challenge ourselves and integrate and push things forward. This early part of the week, we're probably noticing some momentum, some wind in our sails as we do approach that heightened energy of the lunar month. Now, in terms of the placements coming into this week, we still have that mix of Leo and Virgo. We still have the Sun and Mars in improvement-oriented Virgo. So it has been really good. Particularly since this lunar month, since we just had that new moon right in between Leo and Virgo. And it's been good to focus on those more improvement-oriented matters. So viewing life through this lens, what can be fixed, refined, detailed, improve, and perhaps taking some actions and asserting ourselves in that way can be great with the Mars. But we still, again, do have a lot of that Leo energy. Mercury will be finishing Leo here this week. And of course, Venus will be here for still quite some time. So good to see the value of self-expression, good to see the value of playfulness and enjoyments, and connecting in that way with Venus here. And then thinking in a more maybe creative or expressive way as well with Mercury, letting that mind go into that fiery realm a little bit is also a great way of working with this. So definitely the combination of fire and earth still this week. And I think anything that does incorporate both is a great way of working with this week. So let's go ahead and break this down one day at a time, starting first here with Monday the 25th. So we've got Mercury in a nice trine with Jupiter. And so Mercury is our more practical, rational, day-to-day mind. And Jupiter is the more expansive, free-spirited, philosophical, and even spiritual mind. So the left and right brain, if you will. And so there's a good harmony, a good synergy between these two. And so it's good to let the practical mind wander a bit, expand, see potentials, look at things from a different perspective, and vice versa. Maybe take some of these perspectives or opportunities and ground them into something real and tangible. So nice to see that, and it just generally does support all things that do involve perspective, understanding, learning, communication, things of this nature. And we may notice coming into Monday maybe just a little bit more of that post-healed energy. We did have some healing energy from last week, and coming off of this Mars opposite Chiron and even the Venus trine Chiron from the weekend, we could perhaps notice a bit of that post-healing energy. But Monday, the moon will be in Capricorn, and in fact into early Tuesday as well for most of us. And so very early in the week, good for anything that does require patience, discipline, and seeing the long road. So responsibility, commitment, things of this nature, usually quite good to have that long-term approach while the moon is in grounded Capricorn. It's a little bit of a mixed bag there. We do have some of that expansive energy, of course, with Jupiter, but also some of that grounding energy as well with the moon in Capricorn. Then once we do get to the later part of Tuesday and then all into Wednesday, the moon will be in innovative Aquarius. And so a good time there to perhaps challenge the status quo a little bit. I think it's a good later part of the week for that, as well as we'll talk about with Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. But I would say as early as late Tuesday, good to, again, challenge the status quo, look at things outside of the norm, get outside of our own comfort zones, and let out some of that individual self-expression, that individuality, that uniqueness that we all have, and the wanting to perhaps express that out into the world, whether it's through connecting with friends, whether it's through cultivating our future visions, whether it's getting into innovative things for the world, for our community, whatever it is, focused more on that is a great way of working with that innovative and forward-thinking energy there of Aquarius. Now, once we do get to that Thursday time period, we'll definitely be in the full moon realm. Again, the full moon will be late Thursday, early Friday for most of us early Friday. And so this is definitely the shifting time of the lunar month, and good to really let that conscious awareness expand a bit. You know, it is the sun energy bouncing off of the moon. It is symbolic for the consciousness, the outer consciousness being quite strong, but also the inner awareness being quite strong, since the consciousness is able to perceive more in the unconscious realm or in the emotional realm of the moon. And so lots of illumination. And with that illumination really comes a different perspective on things. And it's from that perspective that we can really make some shifts and changes in order to continue on with the lunar month. And in this case, it is in Pisces, and Pisces is, of course, opposite where we've had this Virgo energy. So we've been talking about this improvement and refinement, and the counterbalance to that is Pisces, which is to do our best to still focus on what's inside of our control with Virgo, but also let go of what's outside of our control with Pisces. And to remember to check in with our soul, to check in with our deep emotions, our inner self, and do what's important to us on a soul level. And so that's what's being illuminated, and so it makes it a great time for all these kinds of things, being aware of our inner self. So really good for spiritual activities, also creative activities that involve imagination, or again, a different perspective, or intuition. Okay, and maybe getting some more flow in our life, whether it's through having a little bit more peace or tranquility, or just introducing a little bit more beingness into our life. Again, it is the more heightened energy of the lunar cycle, so it's not so much a time of necessarily retreating or getting too much into the introverted energies. It's actually an extroverted time, but it's how we can incorporate this more receptive approach, spiritual approach, intuitive approach, soul-guided approach to our everyday life. And so that's what's being illuminated, and I think any intentions around those types of things can be a great way to move forward, and again, to hopefully counterbalance some of that more detail-oriented and improvement-oriented energy of Virgo. So the moon will be in Pisces all the way through Saturday here. And while we have that, again, we do have these Uranus aspects. So Venus will be squaring Uranus around that full moon on Thursday. And so Uranus, again, like that Aquarian energy, calls us to get outside our comfort zone, outside the norm of things. And with Venus, it's about seeing perhaps the value of that and perhaps connecting in that way. Now, it might be a little bit uncomfortable to do so. It is, of course, the square. This isn't anything out of the norm. This is actually the third square we've had with Venus and Uranus this year because Venus went retrograde. And so I think this one will be easier. And it's really just about really implementing what we could say has been going over this past couple months of how can we get outside that comfort zone with what we're enjoying in life, with how we're connecting in our relationships, how we can see the value of mixing things up, trying different things, and innovating. So anything that's on that level, I think, is great. And again, could be a very constructive time, actually, for all things values, all things enjoyments, all things relationship, when we are intending on mixing things up there healthfully and constructively. Now, Mercury supporting all this because on Saturday he's going to be trining Uranus. So our minds do get this sense of innovativeness and forward thinking. And so, again, anything that involves the cerebral or communicative realms is quite supportive this week with Mercury in good trines. And in this case, perhaps to communicate in a way that is letting out that individuality, that uniqueness, seeing perspectives we didn't see before because we're thinking outside the box, right? Innovative mind, and just more of a willingness to kind of, get outside that comfort zone in general. So nice to see Mercury supporting that, but it's definitely the theme of Uranus around that Friday and Saturday time. And then once we do get to Sunday, the moon will shift into the, where are we at here? Aries energy. And so we may notice a little bit more of the initiative with things, a little more themes maybe around independence, a little bit more themes around cultivating our needs, our personal needs and desires. This is coming from a more spiritual or receptive connection to our soul into a much more ego-oriented aspect of our needs, our drives, and taking those initiatives to move those things forward. Nothing majored there, but the moon does place themes on the day around that. And also Sunday, Mercury will be shifting into Virgo, adding to that improvement energy. This is a great position for Mercury. He does rule Virgo. He's considered exalted in Virgo in the Western astrology. And so we could notice that our minds are actually operating quite well when it comes to fixing things, improving things, and getting into the details, which is what this Virgo's all about. All right, everyone. So that is the week in a nutshell. Most importantly is that full moon. We are approaching that, the Thursday, Friday time period, noticing the momentum as we get to that. And maybe some of these shifts and changes, incorporating more of that receptive Piscean, spiritual, intuitive, and beingness approach into our everyday lives. The week as a whole has a good support with Mercury, the planet of our mind and communications. The challenge this week around that full moon is with Venus and Uranus, which is how can we see the value and connect in a way that is perhaps a bit uncomfortable, but also maybe exciting, different, unorthodox. That can be very constructive. All right. And then as we come out of that full moon, starting to implement some of these new perspectives into next week. All right. So everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below to check that out. There's a free report and also a paid report if you do want to order your full True Sidereal chart in a printout with all the interpretations. But have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.